I traded it all.
Welcome back, everyone. And now my next guest, who has also been on my show, the longest running guest ever, is Ted Watkins. And I know everyone's like, Ted again? But there's a really good reason why. So listen up, everyone. There's also new listeners all the time. He's been doing this since 1978. Welcome to the show, and tell everybody why you're here so much right now.
Okay, thank you, Carol. It's always great to do the show with you.
I love having you here.
Thanks very much. Well, some of you have probably heard me. I'm on again. But my name's Ted Watkins.
Repetition, it's what it's all about.
There you go. And I'm what's called an enrolled agent for IRS. Now, I'm not an employee of the IRS. A lot of people make that mistake. I represent you, the taxpayer. But the reason they call us an enrolled agent before IRS is we have a federal license that we have to take a test that the IRS sponsors, and so we get a federal license. But what that allows me to do is I can represent anyone in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, Guam, and all those other places that the U.S. still owns. And so I can help regardless of where you live, and I can help you out. And I've been doing this, as Carol said, since 1978. I've worked with a lot of people on the show and helped a lot of people over the last 8 years.
Absolutely. You have a lot of people call you all the time. Sometimes they call right away, and sometimes they don't. We do know that there's a lot of procrastinators out there.
That's right. In fact, last show I think I told about the longest guy that waited 4.5 years before he gave me a call.
But you know what? Here's the thing. A lot of people out there do put their head in the sands with this. Now, again, you can have troubles with the IRS, and there's nothing like Ted having an enrolled agent help you. But you also don't have to have trouble, so we want you to also understand that as well.
That's right, because I do several hundred individual tax returns as well as a couple hundred small businesses. So you don't have to have a tax problem at all. I mean, I'm happy to do your current year's taxes, and we do some QuickBooks accounting, and I do a little bit of payroll too. So I can help individuals and small businesses out, even if you don't have a tax issue right now.
And tell them the difference between either, them trying to do it on their own, and also for people who go to the big box stores.
Okay, well, one thing is my fees are not usually any more expensive than the H&R Blocks or the Jackson Hewitts or the Liberty Taxes of the world. But the good thing is a lot of those companies, they only give their employees, tax preparers, about 2 weeks or so of training. And I've been doing this since 1978, and I go to 40 or 50 hours each year of continuing education to stay up with the tax laws. So, you're not going to spend a ton of money with me just because am an enrolled agent, and I've been doing this quite a long time.
Also, you look at them personally 3 times before they go out.
That's right. So I do have part-time tax preparers that I actually be starting to hire this week and next week. But with me, even though they prepare the returns, I personally look at the returns 3 times before the returns go out the door to make sure everything's done right.
And let me tell you something about Ted. He makes sure everything is done right all of the time. He is the most meticulous person. He has the sharpest pencil I know anyone to have. And he'll even call the station in the middle of the night when we're off a second. So let me tell you, that's what Ted's all about. He's about helping you guys out there with issues that you might have or getting the most money that you can. And right now it's tax season, so that's why he's here all the time for everybody to hear him and listen to him, because he's helped so many people out there. Right now we're going to offer everybody the tax organizer. Let's talk a little bit about that. I think everyone should have it. I don't care whether you work with Ted or not. Everyone should have it.
That's right. My tax organizer this year is 18 pages long, up from 16 last year. But anyway, if you go onto my website, which is tedwatkinsea.com, there's a little tab that says Tax Center, and it's in PDF, so you can download it, or I'm happy to mail it if you're not a computer person.
Call in here. I'm going to give it to you right from here.
But anyway, what it does is it's kind of a one-size-fits-all, and if you have sold stocks and bonds, if you own rental real estate, maybe you have a little MLM company and it goes over the business use of the home. So, but the good thing about it is if you spend just very few minutes going over it, you'll probably see a lot of deductions that you didn't know you were entitled to take. So you can save yourself, I can almost guarantee you, several hundred or even thousands of tax dollars just by going over it. And that's one good thing about, because TurboTax, for example, is kind of a question-driven program. So it's not going to necessarily ask you every question. It just kind of hits the major areas. So,
but Ted does.
Yeah, so that's one advantage you have with me instead of you going out and buying TurboTax yourself, is that we'll go over the tax organizer with you and make sure that you're picking up everything you're entitled to.
Also, you're going to get the record retention guide. He says the number one question that he gets asked is, how long should I keep this stuff? That's 4 pages long, so you're going to have all of that from us here at the station. He's going to go back the last 3 years for you for free. He does free consultations. Tell him what you mean by going back the last 3 years for free for.
Okay, so if you bring me your last 3 years tax returns, your 14, 15, and 16, I'll take a look at them at no cost to you, and then if they look like they've been prepared correctly, I'll tell you that. But if it looks like there's some errors or you've missed some major deductions, then we'll go over that too, and you might have to do an amended tax return, but it's well worth it because a lot of times you'll get back a lot of tax dollars that you thought you weren't entitled to.
And tell him what $175, how that does give you peace of mind.
Okay, that's kind of my tagline.
I came up with that. That's
175 for peace of mind. That's Carol's invention. But anyway, what that's about is for me to talk with the IRS or any of the states like the Arizona Department of Revenue, you have to fill out and sign a power of attorney. Now, you're not signing your life away. It just allows me to talk with the IRS. In fact, it says on the form that this form will only be used for IRS purposes. But what that allows me to do is I can make sure all of your tax returns are filed through 2016, and then if they are, that's good, and then we can also check to see if you have any back taxes that you owe. And sometimes I find that a lot of people don't know that they've actually owe taxes. Maybe they've moved and the IRS notices haven't kept up with them. So we find out if you have to file any tax returns and how much taxes you owe. And so then we can come up with a game plan to help you out.
Now, Ted loves to give a lot of stuff away, and he's helped a lot of people out there in the last 8 years. They're always calling Ted, whether they're calling the station, they're emailing me, I need help, I need Ted, I want an enrolled agent to do my taxes. So we've got our lines open here, and what we're going to do is we've got our lines open so that you can call in and get all this stuff from me. So you're getting it for free. The tax organizer, I believe everybody should have it. Also, the record retention guide. He's going to give you a free Walmart card or a Starbucks card. He goes back the last 3 years for you for free. He always gives you a no-cost, no obligation consultation. And on top of everything else, he's going to enter you in to win a business or personal tax return for 2017. This is about a $450 value free to everybody out there. And everyone's getting entered in to win the business or personal tax return. And all these other things, everybody should have it. We're live on Facebook, so hi everybody out there that's watching. Like us, follow us. You can all call in for all of the things that you're hearing about on this show as well. So our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. You can check him out on his website. It's tedwatkinsea.com. So what would we go talk about before the break?
Well, one thing I want to also mention, if you do have tax issues, the IRS usually doesn't issue levies during the holiday season.
But the holidays are over.
But we're 2 weeks into the new year. So they're going to start ramping up their what they call enforced collection activity, where they send out levies. They can get your bank accounts. They can get your stock and bond accounts. They can issue a levy against your salary or wages. So they have a lot more power than a regular collection agency. agency has. And
They're brutal.
And they can make your life miserable. And in fact, on their wage levies, they barely leave you enough to pay your utility bills on.
Wow. So you know what, guys? Don't put your head in the sands. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk further about some Bitcoin, seeing some information about Ted knows a lot about all this stuff. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep our lines open here, and everyone call throughout the rest of the show for all of this. You're going to get the tax organizer. Believe me, we all need to be organized. I don't know about you guys out there, but I've been trying to get myself so organized, and the more organized I think I am, the less organized I am for some reason. So everyone's going to get the tax organizer, the record retention guide. He says the number one question he gets asked is, how long should I keep all this stuff? So also you're going to get a free Walmart card or a Starbucks card. You're also going to get the last 3 years for free that he goes back and he checks out to see whether or not you got all of the money you should have gotten. Also, he gives you a free consultation, and everyone's getting entered in to win a free business or personal tax return for 2017. There's nothing like having Ted look at your taxes for you. $175 gives you peace of mind. He can help anyone in the United States of America, and it's Ted Watkins, EA.com. Call us here at 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. Everyone should have all of this stuff that we're giving away here. Welcome back. We're talking with Ted Watkins, and he is my longest running guest, and he is here a lot right now. It is tax season, and Ted comes on a lot because Ted helps a lot of people out there. I have so many people that I know that you've worked with, whether it's through this show here, they call you, they email me, somehow they always want to get to you. They've heard you on this show. This is something that, we're all trying to get ourselves organized. Like I said before, it is tax season, so you're going to hear him, and the reason why is because he's out here to help us save as much money as we can and get as much money as we can back from the IRS. They are brutal, and you don't want them to be on your backs. And once you talk with Ted, if you sign over this power of attorney, which only gives him the right to talk to them, basically, you're not signing over anything, your life or anything like that, it's $175, and you're done. You don't get any more calls, right? You don't. Go ahead. I'll let you talk.
No, that's right. Once you sign the power of attorney, most people don't like speaking with the IRS, and they get nervous and actually volunteer too much information. So with me, I've been doing it a long time, so it's just part of my job. And my job's to get you the best, if you do have tax issues, to get the best. Usually we settle most cases with a monthly payment agreement. So that's all the power of attorney is about, is just to get information from the IRS and to find out where you are. Because if you don't know what your problem is, then we can't develop a solution for you.
Right. And the other thing is, too, that you don't want them calling you and sending you all of these, letters and everything, and you don't want to talk to them because you always say too much and you get yourself in trouble. That's why it's great to have Ted to help you. He's an enrolled agent. He can help anyone in the United States. You don't have to have tax issues to have an enrolled agent do your taxes. And believe me, there's nothing like having an enrolled agent do them for you. Ted has been doing this since 1978, and what's great about Ted is he loves to give things away. He loves to help people, and you can call him direct if you want. He does free consultations. His number is 602-363-1952, but I say call in here. Everybody should have this tax organizer. Believe me, it's 18 pages long, and you're going to find something that is going to save you money just by having that. Also, the record retention guide. Everybody says that, how long should I keep all this stuff? You're going to know exactly what you should keep and what you shouldn't and how long. Also, he's going to go back the last 3 years for you guys for free so that you could see if you should have gotten some money that you shouldn't have. If you haven't, then fine. But if you did, you'd probably want it. Also, you're going to want to get that free Walmart card or a Starbucks card and the free consultation and everything else. He's also going to enter everybody in to win a free business or personal tax return for 2017. That is a $450 value free. All you have to do is call me. He can help anyone in the United States. Our number here, 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. Everybody on Facebook, you can call into, like us, follow us, and it's so much fun. We've been having fun with that too now. So, okay. Did I give our phone number out? I did.
You did. You
Sue.
did.
Okay,
You did.
where am I at, Ted?
Well, I guess I did like to talk a couple minutes about my blog again.
Okay, let's talk. Well, should we talk about Bitcoins first? Let's do that first.
All right, well, we can talk about Bitcoins first.
Okay, for just a second.
Okay.
I'm very interested.
Okay, so I've been getting lots and lots of questions about Bitcoin, and when I say Bitcoin, I mean Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Dash, and all that good stuff. But anyway, the IRS has actually finally come out with some rules on how to treat Bitcoin, and the IRS says that Bitcoin, they don't consider it a currency. What they consider it is when you buy a Bitcoin and say, just for a number that's around $15,000 right now. So say you buy Bitcoin today, and then next week you sell it for $20,000, and that's not out of the realm of possibility for sure. So what the IRS says that you've done is it's like a stock or a bond. You've bought Bitcoin for $15,000, sold it for $20,000, so you have a $5,000 gain. And since you sold it in a week, it's what they call short-term capital gains, which is taxed as ordinary income, like your salary and wages, interest, and so forth. Now, if you hold the Bitcoin for a year and a day and then sell it, then you'll be taxed as a long-term capital gains. And most of you out there are probably in the 15% bracket, so you'd pay 15% to the federal government and about 5% to the state of Arizona. So that's the way they want it taxed. Now, I also have gotten a lot of questions from people that say, well, how's the IRS going to know about this? And the answer is that is right now, probably they're not. Although they did subpoena 20,000 records from Coinbase, which is one of the main clearinghouses for Bitcoin. So my advice to you, it would be to report your Bitcoin transactions. And what's probably going to happen, well, not probably, most likely will happen, is that the IRS knows they're losing billions of dollars in taxes from people not reporting Bitcoin transactions. And for example, in 2015, only 880-some people reported their Bitcoin sales. And let me tell you, there were millions and millions of sales of Bitcoin in 2015. So the government's losing billions of dollars, obviously. So what they're going to do is probably what happened quite a few years ago, where doctors and other wealthy people were taking their assets and companies to Caribbean countries and as Switzerland also, and not reporting their interest they were earning. And so the IRS came up with a huge program where they went and they collected billions from people that had accounts in Switzerland, just as an example. But they also cracked down on people that had accounts in the Caribbean. So my feeling is that they're going to come up with a program to be able to track Bitcoin transactions quite easily, or fairly easily anyway, so that they can start collecting all this lost revenue.
And they want their money.
And they want their money.
So if they can't get it that way, they're going to find out how to get to you if you owe money, and they're going to push that button, and they're going to take your money faster. That's what
right.
I think.
And another thing, too, that is if you have too much of your income is derived from Bitcoin sales, you can be looking at a tax fraud situation, too. So that's another thing. Most of the time, people don't go to jail for tax fraud unless you're like Wesley Snipes.
Which we're going to talk about in a minute.
Or somebody like that. But the penalties are horrendous. And not only the tax, but the penalties and interest, most of the time will be, the penalties and interest will be more than the tax itself. So you can wind up owing a huge amount of money by not reporting your Bitcoin transactions. So my advice would be to keep track of your sales and to report them all.
Well, let's talk about your blog. Are you going to have a Bitcoin little story up there soon?
Yeah, we do, actually. I have 2 or 3 articles about Bitcoin on the blog. So I'm kind of a Luddite, I guess you'd call me. Luddite when it comes to social media. So anyway, but I hired a millennial several months ago, and she helped me put together a blog. And we have about 50 some articles up there now, and I believe I have 3 articles on Bitcoin actually up there.
Yeah,
I'll have to double check that. But anyway, we have
might be 3.5, but
3.5, something like that. But anyway, we just talked about Wesley Snipes briefly, and most of you may know he served 3 years in federal penitentiary for tax fraud. So I wrote an article about him. I've written one about Run DMX. He had a lot of tax problems. Sugar Ray had a lot of tax problems. In fact, the last fight he did with that UFC fighter, that he had to pay $22 million to the IRS before they would let him even fight.
Wow.
So, but anyway, that's kind of the article.
He's lucky he had it.
Yeah, lucky he had it, or that fight wouldn't have gone down. But anyway, so those are the kind of articles I like to write. But you'll learn a lot about things you should, and most importantly, things you shouldn't do by reading these articles. But we try to make them halfway interesting because most of you out there don't want to read a tax article. I have to because it's part of my business. But most tax articles, you'll be asleep in 3 seconds. So
no, but you made them juicy.
Yeah, we tried to make them a little bit juicy and interesting.
So, okay, the other thing that I want to get people to understand about, listening to what Ted has to say, talking to him, having a consultation with him, there's so many things that people don't realize that they might have tax issues with. And we've been talking a little bit about this by even talking on your blog or reading the blog that came out that if you're in an accident, and my daughter was just in one, so I don't know how this might affect me. I have no idea. But when people there are taxable, what do you call it?
Yeah, there's tax implications.
Implications for
right.
it.
Well, if the payment you receive, say from a settlement, from a car accident or any other kind of lawsuit, if it involves physical injury, then that's not taxable. But a lot of the lawsuits involve what the lawyers call emotional distress, and that is taxable.
And everybody's distressed when they get into it.
And so you try to get as much from your settlements from emotional distress as well as the physical injuries.
So there's a lot of things that you need to learn by going up on his website, reading these things. A lot of information. There's got great information there. Now, Ted is going to be giving everybody the tax organizer by calling me here. Also, the record retention guide. He's going back the last 3 years for you. A free Walmart card or a Starbucks card. Also entering everybody in to win a free business or personal tax return. Call her at 602-277-5369.